Retrofit is really taking an existing property and fitting modern measures or modern technologies into it. So we're just taking an existing property, it's a home improvement, and we're upgrading it. Now that might be in terms of energy efficiency, through insulation, loft insulation, wall insulation, floor insulation. You're putting measures into a dwelling that it didn't originally have, or replacing them with better ones, more efficient ones. But also it extends into some of the wider trades. And I think if we think about the example of a house requiring a new consumer unit or a rewire, what it really is, it is retrofitting because we're upgrading it, we're making a home improvement, but what we're really doing is maintaining that dwelling. An electrical components or an electrical system has reached the end of its life. It might be worn out, it might not, it might be worn out, it might no longer be fit for purpose in terms of all the modern technology that we have in houses, but what you're really doing is maintaining it and upgrading it and improving it. That really, to me, is all really retrofit actually means, I think. Yeah, good point, future-proofing. So actually, and I'm a bit guilty of this. Well, we've had work carried out on our house over the years because I haven't really been able to think far enough about what those technologies could be. I suppose we use the electrical example again, don't you? Make sure you've got enough power points for all the things that you're going to start to use over the period of time that you're going to live there. And also, I think retrofitting is about paving the way. You're making a start, you're improving a dwelling, but really you need to do it in the right order as well, in a logical order, so that you don't have to undo the work that's already been carried out. And the fact that the work you do, it connects, future-proofing, exactly said, to the work that may need to be done next over a period of years. Absolutely. No one knows the trades better than the trades, and most trades are by now very, very familiar with who they hand off to. So it's an assignment sort of process, really. The carpenter then hands over to the plasterer, to the plasterer or the bricklayer or whoever it might be, but they leave the keyways in place for things to happen. And I think that's a really important part, because if we don't, you get a bit of a gap in the middle between the trades, because there's a bit required. Something hasn't quite lapped far enough for the next trades to come along. Well, actually, that brings a thought to mind to me, the fact that you've spoken about modern low carbon technology really is what a solar panel is, but we just call it a solar panel. Now actually in the UK, as we're moving towards net zero, the government policy and legal commitment is to get to net zero by 2050. So there's more than just homes that require to, there's the grid, there's transport, there's all sorts of things. But in terms of the trades for home improvement, we've got about 28.5 million homes in the UK, depending who you speak to, slightly up, slightly down, and around 24 million homes require a level of home improvement, energy efficiency, modern technologies that bring carbon footprints of the occupant, the use of the dwelling down. So actually over the next 26 years to get to 2050, if you do the maths, there's somewhere in the region of about 2,000 dwellings a day that require improvement to help us meet our net zero targets. So the opportunity so there's a challenge in it, but the opportunity is absolutely enormous for tradespeople to start to become involved and play their part in getting us towards net zero as well. So there are billions already being spent by government and by the energy suppliers in terms of funding energy efficiency improvements, retrofit, for people that meet certain criteria. There are people that need help in heating their homes. There's something called the Boiler Upgrade Grant, which is around the government being able to put money up to homeowners in able to help them afford to be able to put heat pumps in their homes, primarily. I think it goes into biomass boilers as well. But the government is currently pushing billions, along with energy suppliers, into home improvements to help us get towards net zero. Now, in terms of the majority of the schemes, there's something called the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund, the Home Upgrade Grant, to name but two. They require TrustMark registration. They also require a slightly different level of certification for people to work in these schemes. So there's something called PAS 2030, which is installer certification, and there's something called the Micro Generation Certification Scheme, MCS, where there are different types of certification, where really what they're about are people taking their existing knowledges, maybe upskilling them, maybe not. They might be perfectly transferable to say that you've met a standard and we can certificate against it to make a common understandable standard for the public and the trades to be able to understand. It's just a process of proving your skills, really. So there are certification bodies. There's either MCS or PAS 2030 certification bodies that freely market and advertise their wares. We're not into the multiple tens of certification bodies, but there are a broad range of certification bodies, and I think all it's about somebody doing is a little bit of homework, perhaps thinking, right, well, I've heard of PAS 2030, I've heard of MCS certification, doing their own research. Majority of people just do a Google search, don't they, as to get a little bit of background about it, and then find out where it is that they can go to enter into the certification process. And I don't think it's anything to be frightened of. I think there are so many skilled tradespeople and so many skilled trades organisations that have the skills. They might not have it captured into a formal process that says, and there's a document, there's a piece of paper, a certificate that says that you can actually meet that level, and it's independently assessed.
It's good.
So it's a process really of people just being able to demonstrate that you've got mechanisms to deliver quality work at a consistent level, that we're not up here one day and down there the next, that we can operate at a consistent level through a recognised set of processes that are backed by people that are competent delivering that work. Yes, so you've demonstrated that you can meet a standard. Once you've been certificated, you can carry on and do that work. You're subject to a little bit of audit and surveillance type work on a risk-based sort of time-lapse process as well, just to make sure that you've met the standard once, that the standard by that business or those individuals is maintained at a consistent level across a period of time. The more you can demonstrate that you meet the standard, the greater the confidence of the certification bodies are in those organisations, and the amount of, perhaps we say, inspection or test or assessment that sits behind it can drop down, because the confidence levels can start to grow. It's not just the individual or the organisation say we're doing it. It's an independent stamp of an organisation that has proven that it can certificate properly. There's some control over that. It isn't just something that an organisation works out for itself. So the consistent process is the certification body is saying that you can do that as well. So it's not just the tradesperson saying that we can do it. An independent party is saying, yes, they can do it. So yes, people can't jump on the bandwagon. In the UK, we have something called UCAS, the United Kingdom Accreditation Service, and they're appointed by government, and they have a consistent process by which they measure the certification bodies to make sure that they meet the standards. So you can't come into the certification world in the context that we're talking about unless you've met the standards to actually become accredited to deliver certification. So there's a sort of top-down, bottom-up, whichever way you look at it, process to make sure that there is a consistent delivery being offered. Yes, it's an absolutely golden opportunity. We need to get there because we need to get to net zero for all the reasons that we hear in the press, on the news, and we see on the television, for reasons that are well recognised. But there is such a marvellous opportunity provided to trades to participate. And I think one of the examples by which people can start to participate, if, for example, you're an electrician or you're a general builder or you're a plumber, you need to start to grow your networks to form small local cooperatives of tradespeople, diverse trades, to be able to sort of almost offer one-stop shop to consumers, to a customer. And one of the things that sits perhaps at the back of that is when a customer is already having work done to their house, They might say, we need a new kitchen or we need a new bathroom, we're having work done to the roof. It tends to lead to the path of least resistance. Whilst the trades are on site, the skips are on site, the scaffoldings are on site, the consumer's already in this improvement mindset, that there are more works that could be delivered in combination while all that work's already going on, because it makes life a little bit easier for the consumer, and it can make the delivery of the work slightly more economical because everything's already there. The remediation trades are on site, so we don't have to plaster and redecorate umpteen times. We can try and do it all, coordinate the works and do it all in one go. As much of it as can be afforded to be done on someone's budget, I suppose, really. And their objectives as well, depending on what they want to do to their house. And it could all be done in a controlled way with the minimum amount of fuss and, as I say, the path of least resistance, it seems to me.